So let's take a look at an example of Athena. Now for this demo, I will be using US West 2 or Oregon region. So over here, there is a bucket, which is a AWS public bucket called Athena examples US West 2. So just replace US West 2 with the region you are in. So if you are in US East 1, just replace US West 2 over here with your region. And this bucket has some sample files. So for example, if I go to CloudFront folder over here and then plain text, it has lots of sample data. So over here, the data consists of CloudFront logs. So let's look at one of the files. But if you want to access this bucket, you need to type this in your URL and it will take you to this bucket. So it has all the CloudFront demo logs. So let's look at one of the files. So I've downloaded one of the files, and over here you can see there is a date or basically a timestamp. Then we have IP address, we have request type, we have the image, and then the user agent and this HTTP status code of a CloudFront request. So we're going to query this data using Athena. So let's see how to do that. So now let's take a look at a demo of Amazon Athena. And we already saw the data that we are trying to query through Amazon Athena. We are going to query CloudFront logs. So I'm going to search for Athena over here, and it will take me basically to the Athena page. And if you are using Athena for the first time, it will take you to this page. So from here, just click on Query Editor. And over here, click on Settings. And in Settings, click on Manage. And over here, browse to a S3 bucket. Any S3 bucket is fine. So Athena will store the query results in this bucket. So just click on Browse S3 and select any AWS bucket that you have or create one for this demo. So I'm going to click Choose and then click on Save. I'm going to save my data over here. So I'm going to go back to the editor. Now over here, you'll see that we have this data catalog. And then within that, there are databases. So our AWS Glue databases will also appear over here. So you can query AWS Glue databases as well from the data catalog of AWS Glue. But over here, let's create a new database. So you might have an empty query editor. So you can do create database, and I'm going to name it as CloudFront logs. And just like a SQL database, we're going to create a database and then click on run. So the query completed successfully. And now you will see a database called CloudFront logs, and I'm going to select that. Now let's create a table inside it. So to create a table, I'm going to use this query. So I'm going to click plus over here, and that would open a new query editor. And I'm going to paste a query over here. So it's just like a SQL query or something similar. So we are going to write create external table if it does not exist, and the name of the table would be CloudFront underscore logs. And we will create all the fields over here and the data type, which will match uh, the file that we had looked earlier. So the first field was date. So we are going to name it date, and since it's date is also a reserved keyword, we'll have to surround by quotes, single quotes, or backticks basically, and then provide the data type. So we'll have to map each and every field of that file over here. And over here, we will have to use this class. Basically, that's the class that will be serializing and deserializing your data. So it will read the data from the file that we were looking at earlier into this table. And it will use this regex pattern. So this is the pattern of the rows of each and every row that we saw of that file. And then we'll have to provide the S3 location. So the location over here would be the bucket name and path to that where our files are located that Athena will try to read. So basically this will create a table. So I'm going to run this. So now you can see the query is successful. And if you look at tables, you can see that there is a table called CloudFront log, which has all these fields, which is date, time, location, and all, and the operating system. So now let's write a query. Now we have a table. I will write a query to query our our files. And what we are going to do is we are going to look at number of requests grouped by OS type. So for each operating system, how many requests that we received between a certain time frame. So let's look at a query. So I'm going to open a new query editor and I'm going to paste a query over here, which is basically just like a SQL query where we are grouping the data by or rows by operating system, and between so and so date, we're going to select the operating system and the count. So basically, and then provide the table name as well. So basically a group by query, a SQL query, and then I'm going to click run over here. So once we run the query, it's fetching the results from that files that we had, and it will show the output at the bottom. So over here, we can see that between so and so date for iOS, we received this number of requests. So based on each operating system types, we are querying our CloudFront logs to see how many requests we received. So you can also download the results by clicking on this download button that would actually download the results over here. So that's basically a demo of Athena on how to create a table, basically how to create a database, how to create a table, and then how to write a query. So we were able to query our files in an S3 bucket using Amazon Athena.